in the family.
Good.
Crying, but wait, this should make it. That should make you happy.
I love that.
Good to see you.
Corey, Representative Callender.
Hey,
Silver medalist.
nice to meet you.
And Ohio State.
I love those boots you got on, man. Brand.
You're here? Yeah.
Yep.
I just had a crazy hi. Also, oh my God, don't make me nervous and stand like that next to us.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you survived your travel craziness.
Doing this today, Representative Jamie Callender.
Well, because Mojo's legacy needs to be memorialized. What he did to promote the First Amendment using his art, like so many artists or musicians, being cutting edge, drawing attention to that precious thing we have here in this country that now more than ever appears to be at risk. The time is right to memorialize his contributions to the First Amendment and to society at large.
Thank you for recognizing that.
Came on a different entrance. We just came in, told them we were here for the Mojo thing, and the guy let us right in. I mean, we had to go through security, of course, but
You did.
I told him any drugs of mine I'm holding for Eric Anders.
What's up, brother? It's good to see you, man.
We're following Colin. Everybody follow Colin.
Good.
I'm glad you're here.
I try.
Get over.
We've got this room for the whole day, so if people need any bags.
Talk about your attacks on the First Amendment.
I didn't know what to tell him.
You're poking the bear already.
We try to keep the troopers.
He actually did a good job in the budget. We did the same.
Mojo, what's it?
Run, Roscoe, run!
Somewhere there's some man in heaven that introduced what happened
Run, Roscoe.
I just hadn't broken the news.
Plenty of
Our plans today, we have at 10 o'clock, which means maybe 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30, we have Rules and Reference Committee. And Rules and Reference is the committee that makes everything else work. When a bill is introduced, it goes there, they assign it to a committee or straight to the floor. It is leadership. It is the elected leadership of each of the Republicans and Democrats. So it is the most powerful committee in the House. It controls whether a bill goes on an agenda and what committee it goes to. One of the items on their agenda today is a resolution that you are all here for. So that resolution does not have a number yet, unless it does.
666.
No.
I like this guy.
They wouldn't let me. I tried to get 420 for my hot bill, and they wouldn't do it. They said it was too cutesy. But
Oh my.
so they, we will get that bill number and resolution number, and then it will go to session, which is where the speaker gavels it to order, and it's a very formalistic proceeding on the House floor. Only members are allowed on the House floor, and for skeleton session, there's only 2 members, the speaker and one other that reads the motions. We have a special dispensation today from the speaker, who several of you went out with last night.
Got him drunk.
Got him drunk. Might have started that way, I don't know. I was joking last night, for those of you who weren't there. There was more water at the bar than I've ever seen. All of us were drinking water last night. He has given permission, because he controls the floor, for all of us to actually be on the floor where normally only members are allowed on. He's also given permission for photography, which is normally not allowed. You saw the ABC reporter ask if she would have permission, and I think, Colin, you said no, right? Because she's not one of my people today, but we may let her.
We're all your people today?
You're all my people today.
Right.
We're all Mojo's people today.
Absolutely.
Yes, there you go.
So in that, it is a formal, the skeleton session only lasts maybe 5 minutes, and there's a guy up there that reads really quickly, everything, and it'll be bills and resolutions, and then they'll read the titles of 4 or 5. Messages from the speaker, and you bang the gavel to end that section. And this resolution will come up under a section called Bills and Resolutions, and the verbiage is read by title alone and spread upon the pages of the record without objection, and it passes. Nobody object when we say that, okay?
Yes.
That's really important. Nobody object when we get to that point. And then once we're done with that business, we will adjourn. And when we do that, you can begin videoing again, not just still photography only during session. Other than that, you can video and you have full access. There's a lot in the chamber to learn about. We'll tell you about that when we're in there. I'll kind of give a little tour. Abraham Lincoln spoke there. John F. Kennedy has spoken there, and we have the seats where they are, where they sat. And technically, nobody but the speaker is allowed on the diosk. But if there's any 10-year-olds in the room, we have special permission for 10-year-olds to go up and sit in the chair that Abraham Lincoln sat in. So we will get now.
I'm 10.
Not yet.
Well, let's talk. Are there any questions before we kind of get into it? I'll give a few facts and things as we go into the room because it's really impressive. It's been redone to the way it was in 1863 when the State House opened, down to the dye in the carpet and the chandeliers. They've electrified them, but there's still the old gas chandeliers. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous facility.
What makes this bipartisan?
This resolutions normally have one sponsor, and that's it. This one, it's supposed to be the person who represents the district where the person is from. So I asked Representative Baker from the Cincinnati area, who's your state rep, and if I could do it, and I said, well, if you'd like to co-sponsor, we can. A rep from Toledo named Michele Grim was eavesdropping, as she said last night, and heard that and said, oh my God, Mojo, he's one of our heroes, I love him.
Wow.
So we added her, and then Sharon A asked to go up. So we have 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, and 2 of them, one of each party, are a member of leadership, which is pretty high up in the hierarchy. So this is really unique. There's a couple of other unique things about this resolution. We fought quite a bit on the resolution.
Thank you, Colin.
And I looked at Colin because he was on the forefront of that fight to get the drafting done well. So the final draft, when we finally got it drafted, and they finally agreed. Do you guys know Holly Gleason?
Yeah. Oh, very well.
So Holly wrote it,
Oh, okay.
and we gave it to LSC, and they said we aren't allowed to accept outside writing. and some flunky right out of law school rewrote the damn thing, and it was amazing how bad it was. And they wouldn't take her away. And I wanted to say, you know, I hate to share with you who wrote this, but she might have a little experience in writing. So we finally got that version done.
Wow.
Holly's version?
Holly's version.
Good.
Yeah. And so here's the problem. They said they threw it out again because it had 5 whereases. And the law only allows 4.
Rebel.
We did not use the word pecker. We did not use the word, which for those of you who don't know, that's a song that, well, taping or something. Did you produce that?
Yeah.
I think you're partially responsible for that.
I okayed it
But I hate to
twice.
say that in front of his wife and granddaughter, maybe we should be, but you've heard it already.
I'm terrified of nothing after 41 years.
For those who haven't seen it, there's a video of her wedding in a wedding dress, and you got married
In a go-kart.
in a
Well, but we rode them after we took the wedding lap.
The victory lap.
Yes, thank you.
The traditional wedding victory lap.
So, yeah, watch the Mojo Manifesto if you haven't, and it's incredible, and all these guys are in it at some point or another. So we have 5 whereases, and they threw it out. And we went to the speaker and got special permission. So this resolution, like a 5-legged dog, is different than any other in that it has 4 sponsors, not 1. It is evenly bipartisan with 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and it has, I know this is shocking, 5 whereases.
Breaking the law.
So, exactly. That Bullethead was excited about it. He said, "You know, that is perfect. Of course it is perfect for this to be
One over.
one
Cross that
something."
line. Just a little bit over the line.
So I'm going to head up. If you'd like to walk with me, we'll go stand outside where rules is. And if 1 or 2 of you want to go in, you can. Again, it's a very small room. But would you like to go into Rules Committee? Then you and 1 other.
Are they actually talking rules today? Because we can send Baird in.
Oh!
Don't tell me no lies.
Basically all I got.
I was waiting for the softball.
Yeah, softball law.
So if there's any questions about the building or the procedure or the process, just ask. It's really arcane. A lot of our traditions go back to the foundations of the country, and we try to uphold those traditions and the decorum and that kind of thing. So coming onto the floor is really a big deal. And I know Mojo would have appreciated the fact that all of his family and friends get to come in and do something that's not in any way, shape, or form normal. Glad to have it documented in photos. We will have some press hanging around afterwards. So right after Skeleton, we'll hang out on the floor and be able to do staged pictures, can recreate anything that you need. So if you want us to rebang the gavel or place people a certain way, we can do that. We have the floor till 11. And then we have the press conference at 11. Be thinking about it if anybody would like to speak at the press conference. I like to keep those things to like 7 to 10 minutes. So I'll speak for 1 or 2. Michele Grim will speak for 1 or 2. Bullethead, if you'd like to say something about why it's appropriate. If you guys would like to say something.
Tori's going to say something too.
Excellent. Oh, yes. I think that's...
Look at that
Yeah,
face.
I told some of the guys, you can tell the Olympians from the rockers. we can figure that
Really in
out.
shape guys.
He was the one who wasn't drinking water last night.
Yeah.
So if there's any questions, just let me know. You're going to meet a lot of reps. I think the speaker's going to come down. We're going to be in here afterwards. We've got this room for a while. So feel free to I think we have tacos and things coming in.
So this is where we'll come afterwards.
Yes.
Is this where the press conference is?
No, the press conference is in something called the ladies' room.
Oh, we were there.
Yeah, were you in the actual
Baird and I've been there already.
the ladies' room?
Yeah.
Wasn't anything like the ladies' room.
Yeah, it's technically called the Ladies' Lounge in Ohio. This is a working museum. When we go into the main area, you'll see that it's very formal. There is historical exhibits everywhere you walk, a lot of Civil War items, a lot of Revolutionary War items, and a lot of space items. With Neil Armstrong and John Glenn from here, there's a lot of, right now, some special exhibits about first in space and first in flight, the Wright brothers. So we have quite a history in aviation here, so there's that. But we were also a forerunner in the suffrage movement up in my area. In fact, you might even live on our farm now. Francis Payne Bolton,
I don't know if my property was or not.
which is real close,
Probably,
walking
yeah.
distance.
Yeah.
Frances Payne Bolton was the first female congresswoman in the U.S., and Eleanor B. Garfield was elected mayor before, it was Garfield's granddaughter, before women had the right to vote. She actually got elected to an office. So we've got a lot of history here, and the main portrait is of the first female speaker of Ohio, Joanne Davidson.
The bearded president. You got some bearded presidents.
We've got the bearded presidents after the Civil War. Hayes, Garfield, Grant was born here, kind of down in your area actually, and McKinley. And then we had Harding and Taft. So we have 5 presidents from here. And the Harrisons, Benjamin and Wade and Harrison. So we have exhibits for each of them and things for each of them around. All of them, it's an old building, it wasn't built now. They're clearly marked on each floor.
Yeah. Oh, everybody took pictures. You stay there, you got it. You got it. Oh, not a question.
If not,
So, Ruben, is she going in with her?
yeah, she doesn't want to.
Hey,
Unless you want that.
no, so Jamie, Ruben and Avery will go in with you.
Going on to the House floor.
House members only.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And it's the same thing. When we have long sessions tomorrow, we have 17 bills on the floor, and we're going to debate all of those. And anything we can do to save time, it keeps those of us with blood sugar issues from killing people.
I don't think I'll use the mic, it'll distract me.
Okay, but this will make it recorded.
Oh, on the,
Or on
okay.
the OGT.
You need somebody to hold it for you till they have?
Oh, we have a volunteer who knows how the State House works now.
Okay, but why don't you, Greg Harris, why don't you come down, stand, because you're part of these, I mean, it's a 2-day thing, it's the Rock Hall.
There you
and it's,
go.
if you guys come in and if we're
Sharon?
doing it for posterity, I want you guys standing here, and Avery too, please. Representative Grim from Toledo, and Kathy, my Aunt Kathy from Toledo, right over there.
Yay!
Get in close here. So I haven't read this before. I think I'll make it through it.
If you find a typo, but pretend like you didn't see it.
Well, I see one that might be, but I'm not sure, but I like it.
Can you read as fast as the other guys?
No. A resolution, HR number 497. Representatives Callender, Grim, Baker, Ray, honoring the late Neill Kirby, Mojo Nixon, McMillan Jr. on June 11, 2024, being recognized as Mojo Nixon Day in Ohio. Whereas the members of the House of Representatives, 135th General Assembly of Ohio, extend posthumous recognition to Neill Kirby, McMillan Jr., Mojo Nixon on Mojo Nixon Day in Ohio, June 11, 2024. And whereas Mojo Nixon will be long remembered as a man who contributed a great deal to his community and state through his ongoing legacy as a social commentator, a live rock performer, and a film, MTV, and radio personality. His 4-decade-long career as a recording artist merged punk, folk, talking blues, and rockabilly music that served as a distinctly American hybrid, especially on his iconic Elvis Is Everywhere. Moreover, it has led to roles in the major motion picture Great Balls of Fire, landmark MTV promos, and documentary Mojo Manifesto, as well as histrionic bands with John Doe, Jello Biafra, Dave Alvin, Country Dick Montana, and others. And whereas the longtime resident of Greater Cincinnati began his radio career on WEBN-FM, and he went on to spend 2 decades as the voice of outlaw country on Sirius XM, while also making appearances on its Howard 100 channel. Without a doubt, he was infinitely important for the ceaseless entertainment initiatives that enriched the lives of those who listened to him, and whereas his stage attire was so unique and consistent for 20 years that his iconic Daisy Dukes denim shorts will be the first to ever be put on display in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and
Stop. That's 4 whereases. That's all we're allowed in Ohio.
And I think getting Daisy Dukes in here was a bit of a problem
That was a bit of an issue too. So from here on is something that we are not allowed to do in resolutions, and that's have 5 whereases. He's a rule breaker.
Whereas it is through the unsurpassed efforts and unparalleled commitment of individuals such as Mojo Nixon that state of Ohio continues to grow and prosper and remains responsive to the needs of its citizens. He has earned a well-deserved reputation as a generous and civic-minded person, and he is deserving of the highest praise for his concerted efforts to inform and entertain his audience. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the House of Representatives of the 135th General Assembly of Ohio, in adopting this resolution, congratulate the late Neill Kirby, Mojo Nixon McMillan Jr. during Mojo Nixon Day in Ohio, June 11, 2024, and urge the citizens of our great state to take the time to play his music loudly and reflect on the life of a truly outstanding Ohioan, and be it further resolved that the clerk, isn't that the clerk?
Yes. The clerk.
The clerk of the House of Representatives transmute a duly authenticated copy of this resolution to the family of Neill Kirby, Mojo Nixon McMillan Jr., adopted June 11, 2024. Denim shorts will be the first ever to be put on display at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If there's something to be known for.
The resolution is now being passed. It's allowed to all of Mojo's close associates and family. So thank you for taking the time to come here, to be here and to celebrate. And this is just the beginning of a 2-day journey for this whole process.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame tomorrow.
Yes.
Jamie's going to be here debating 17 bills.
Service.
Yes.
Wow, dude, now that is called getting...
Slide one person over, please. Not you, but everybody in the back row. Just slide a little more. Just go. All right, here we go.
Wait, I'm going to get in and balance it out. It's unbalanced. I see you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you should be here.
All right, I'm going first. Right here, everybody. Looking at me. Big smile. You want me in there?
I'm going to show the stripe off. Jacket's
Can we get
Got a
a
later
we're
on.
getting-
Hang on a
we're
second.
getting-
partner in here? First person.
Okay,
Yes.
Bobby, come on.
Bobby.
Can we slide over a little bit y'all's way now? You got it. There you go.
Hiding behind me.
I'm tucking behind.
Bring that down just a little. No,
With, got to see your face.
Right here, right here. One more.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island.
Thank you, everybody. We've got some members of the local press, some members of the national press, and a lot of other people here. And the reason we are gathered here is to talk about celebrating the life of Mojo Nixon and about the state creating Mojo Nixon Day. We just got through skeleton session and it went through rules today. So it is official and enacted. Today is Mojo Nixon Day in the state of Ohio. Why, you may ask, would we do that in the midst of all the things we're doing here in Ohio right now? And one of the reasons for me to want to do this, besides being friends with some of his friends, colleagues, producers, managers, musicians, and liking to hang around with rock stars, one of the big reasons that I wanted to do this was because what Mojo stood for, in essence, what his art was about, was the First Amendment. saying things that might be cutting edge or offensive, and doing it in a way that really challenged your senses. People would want to argue or fight or correct or say, you can't do that. He pushed the envelope in so many ways. Some of his songs, one that I think is kind of my anthem, Legalize It.
Gospel tune.
Gospel tune. The members of the press, the Mojo folks don't know that, but I've had a bill to legalize marijuana in Ohio since 1997. And it happened this year. After many years. Mojo chose to run his Sirius XM station in the state of Ohio. Mojo has strong ties there. You live there. This is his wife, his granddaughter, who is holding the actual resolution that we just passed. And I'm going to let some folks say a couple of words about why this is important, not just for the family, but for the entire state, the entire country, and right now with where we are politically. This resolution had 4 sponsors. Most had 1, you should know. 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. A member of leadership of both parties. Just a perfect balance of our chamber. With that, I'll let Representative Michele Grim say a couple of words. She's one of the 4 joint sponsors.
And I'm the Democrat. I do have it written. No. And I'm the Democrat, by the way. If you didn't know. So thank you. I'm happy to be here with Representative Callender and Mojo's family and friends to announce a bipartisan resolution designating June 11th as Mojo Nixon Day here in Ohio, honoring an icon. I know, amazing, right? Whose fearless spirit left an indelible mark on music and culture. The self-described court jester of the cowpunk and psychobilly movements. You probably wouldn't think that those words would be spoken here, right? That fused country and roots music with punk rock. Mojo Nixon burst on the scene in the 1980s with hits like Elvis Is Everywhere, Don Henley Must Die, and Debbie Gibson is Pregnant with My Two-Headed Love Child. Mojo Nixon said his goal was to go too far, too fast. He pushed every boundary, stood up to censorship, and fought for free speech. He used his platform to challenge the status quo and to give a voice to those who felt marginalized by mainstream culture. He was, as remembered by his friend and collaborator Jello Biafra, a real gentleman, deep, loving, and empathetic as it gets, a true son of Woody Guthrie. He also, he's also an adopted son of Ohio, a celebrated graduate of Miami University, and a beloved DJ on Cincinnati radio. Today we honor Mojo Nixon not only for his talent and achievements, but for embodying the spirit of creative rebellion. By recognizing June 11th as Mojo Nixon Day, we celebrate his enduring impact on our culture and encourage young Ohioans to embrace the same boldness and authenticity. Thank you so much, and I think we're going to hear some words from friends and family.
Yeah. I don't know how to introduce you. Sky Rose Riley, but he's better known as Bullethead. The co-star of the Mojo Manifesto.
Mojo.
Among other things.
Mojo passed out nicknames regularly. He gave me mine in 1986, and I didn't know I'd be stuck with it for the rest of my life. Just Ohio, Mojo lived here 3 different times. The first time, Miami University in Oxford was the college furthest away from his hometown of Danville that accepted him. So he went there to get as far away from home as possible. He was totally rebellious there. After touring around for 15 years, first with Mojo and Skid Roper, I was in the van for all of that, it ruined my life, and then with Mojo and his beloved band, the Toad Lickers, and he did a radio interview in Cincinnati to promote a show. He called me, he said, Hey, Bullethead, this guy on WLW just offered me a job on the air. I don't know if it was just radio or a prank, but if he calls, feel it out. Within a few weeks, Mojo was on the air in Cincinnati. He only lasted 3 weeks at WLW, but I had made sure he had a 6-month contract, so they stuck him over on WEBN morning show with his buddy Eddie Fingers, and they became fast friends, and that worked out very well for him, until they decided they wanted to move him to San Diego, back where he'd come from, to a station there. His wife Adele said she wouldn't move unless he lived out on the Coronado, near the beach in San Diego, which he did, and they were there for many years, and then he came back a third time, because they wanted to be near their granddaughter Avery. And he spent the last 7 years of his life living here in Ohio. Ohio was a big part of what he was. And he would probably be more entertained than this Mojo in Wonderland down the rabbit hole stuff that's going on here today than anybody. He was an uncompromising individual, and nobody asked for any sort of compromise to make this day come together, and that people embraced him for the total boundary-pushing nut job that he is. Makes it seem like letting him ruin my life was maybe worth it. So here's one of the craziest things about Mojo. He has a direct tie to the Olympics and a U.S. Olympic medal. So Gordy Shear, you can tell the whole story. He does have a silver medal in the
Thanks, everybody. My name's Gordy Shear. I'm, as Bullethead mentioned, I'm a silver medalist in the sport of luge. And leading to the 1998 Olympic Games, we decided, I decided to send Bullethead a letter saying, hey, please pass this along to Mojo. We'd like Mojo to be our honorary team captain. So we heard one of Mojo's quotes about too far, too fast. Well, we kind of fit into the too fast thing. And you have to imagine a bunch of young athletes speeding around Europe in team rental cars, listening to Mojo tapes, at full throttle, just loving it. And then all of a sudden, Mojo was our team captain. And the next thing you know, we're recording a song with Mojo in San Diego, and it was just a wild ride. But the thing about Mojo, he's the all-American, raised on radio, just kind of real Bullethead. Use the word nut job gets thrown around a lot when we talk about Mojo. But he was an inspiration to us, and he helped us be our best. And he was a great guy, and I couldn't imagine a bigger honor than having Mojo Nixon Day in Ohio. So, thanks.
And how did it work out at the 98 Olympics?
So one of the song's lines was, "The USA medal drought will soon be over now that Captain Mojo has took over." And it all came true.
Correct.
Yep.
And what was the name of the song?
Arctic Evil Knievel.
Arctic Evil Knievel. Look it up if you get a chance. We have some musicians here.
Great.
Well, I'm going to let Craig go last.
Oh!
Damn.
Because we're going to wrap up with Craig. Would you guys come up and at least say hello?
Let's do a group.
Do a group.
Okay, there you go.
As a captain.
If you all would you can tell a story if you'd like to, but at least introduce yourself and your connection with Mojo and other things you've done.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
I'll go first since I have the least. He has the most.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Baird. I used to play in a band called the Georgia Satellites. And when I first met Mojo, the thing that I had with him was that thing of instant recognition of home. You don't get it with a lot of people. 1 in 10,000 maybe. But I looked at him, I went, I know this guy. He knows me. We're fighting for the same thing. And it was always about, let's make it blow up. Great.
Jason and the Scorchers for 40 years, and Mojo was a fan of our band. He was a fan of my guitar playing. The thing that I love and loved about Mojo was, you know, everybody goes on nutty, wild, crazy. He was all of that. But he's also a really smart guy. He was a good human being. And he was inclusive. Everybody could come to the party. He wanted everybody to come to the party. He took us, which there's some common things, but there's some not so much common things. And we all got to come to the party, and I'm very, very, very thankful that I got to see his last show on the boat. Him and the Toad Lickers were magnificent that night, and he knew it. He knew they had played a great, great, great show that night, and it was really a cool thing to see. And we are very fortunate that Mojo Nixon walked the planet.
My name's Eric Gamble. I was the original guitar player in Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and I met Mojo when I was in San Diego with the Del Lords in 1984. We had a tour manager that somehow thought that we needed to have a little battery-operated TV so we could watch Miami Vice. And I got sick of that, and I was like, I'm going in this place and get a beer or something. I went in there, and I was unprepared for what I witnessed, which was a grown man in a bunny suit with a TV on his head who was singing like Howlin' Wolf. And I ran out to the band and said, let's get in there right now. So I learned so much about Mojo over the years. We're almost exactly the same age. He was born on the same day as my dad. I ended up playing on Mojo's first solo record, Otis, with Country Dick Montana and John Doe and Bill Davis, and it was produced by the late, great Jim Dickinson. And then later on, I ended up producing Mojo's record, Whereabouts Unknown. And Mojo would talk about his famous songs. I mean, Mojo really spoke the truth in a hard way, whether it was a song like I Hate Banks or Where the Hell's My Money? But he said many times, when it was all said and done, in 100 years, there'd be one song he'd be remembered for. And this was recorded with me at my studio, and it was kind of a technical achievement in sound. Maybe the best recording that I ever made there at this place in Williamsburg that's now a Urban Outfitters store. But the song that Mojo knew would follow him and bring people back to him is called Tie My Pecker to My Leg.
Yep. It's as ugly as you think it is.
Ugly,
and fun, mean,
and joyous. Joyous. There's a joy in the young man. We'll never forget him, and we all love him. And thank you so much to the Ohio legislature for recognizing Mojo.
Just for the record, I want to say, Mojo, undoubtedly, we talked about it a lot, believed Dan Barrett was the greatest living rock and roll singer in the world, and believed Warner was the greatest rock and roll guitar player in the world, and believed Roscoe was the coolest guy in the world. If we just followed shit Roscoe did, the girls would like it. And they're here just because I told them this was happening, and they all just said, well, we're coming. So, and Whereabouts Unknown, the record he was talking about, we were broke, we had no money, but my wife Lorena kept getting credit card offers, so we took one of them and made the record with that money. And Jamie Harris has done so much for us, and Representative Grim today, the other person who is making these 2 days so great and has led a charge that seems almost irresponsible, besides the Ohio State Legislature. This just seems crazy to me. The other person doing something completely crazy and irresponsible and can't be good for their career is the president of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Greg Harris.
Thank you, Bullethead. I've not walked up to a dais and said that. Unlike these talented gentlemen, I'm not a musician, but I'm fortunate to be the president and CEO of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum right here in Ohio. And we're honored. You know, rock and roll is the most powerful art form ever created. It's the music that changed the world. It's inspired all of us. And it's taught us to think differently, act differently, and question things. And Mojo certainly caused us to think differently, act differently, and question things, and changed a lot of people. And one of the reasons, because of that, we have an exhibit at the museum where we're going to honor Mojo, and we're going to dedicate it tomorrow, and have a special celebration in tandem with what has happened down here in the State House, and connecting to Mojo Nixon Day right here statewide. And we're thrilled and honored to be able to do this. We all know that rock and roll isn't one sound. Rock and roll is street corner harmony. Rock and roll is doo-wop. Rock and roll is garage rock. It's punk rock. It's electronic music. It's dance music. It's cowpunk. It's heavy metal. It's death metal. It's hip-hop. It's rap. It's all of that. And Mojo had all those sounds and energy rolled together. And the hallmark of it all is that it has attitude and spirit. And he had a hell of a lot of attitude and spirit. And in closing, I'd like to say that I'm here in this capacity, but I'm also here because I've been fortunate to know Bullethead and Mojo since the 1980s, when we were all working out where we fit in this world, and we were climbing in and out of 40 Honda Line vans everywhere. And it was always a blast to cross paths with these guys. And it's kind of wonderful to be able to bring it all together now, right here in the state of Ohio. It's bittersweet that the extra person isn't around for all of it, but we're going to celebrate him, and we're just honored to be able to do it up at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. Thanks.
Does the public come?
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, come on out and help us unveil this installation in honor of Mojo. And I'm told there might be a little bit of music to follow that might be played by some people standing in this room. So.
I want to thank folks for being here and open it up for questions.
So you mentioned that politically going on right now, how important the First Amendment is. What are you seeing from your colleagues who have proposed legislation that would limit, or some say it would limit, the First Amendment?
Well, to quote the great Nancy Reagan, because I don't get to do that often, just say no. Pretty simple.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, there's a green button and a red button on our desk, and some of those bills that limit the First Amendment, we should push the red button. I think there's certainly nationwide, and we're seeing it here in Ohio, there's an attack on freedom of speech, and I think it's critical that we have the pioneers that we've had, and rock and roll and Mojo in particular have really used their art and their microphone to push the First Amendment. And I think celebrating his life today is a nice piece of evidence as to the First Amendment, and was a chance, the fact that we ended up with such strong support from House members, where our minds are, bipartisan, leadership in both parties. I think that's a statement of where we are on the First Amendment, and maybe a not so subtle statement to some of the legislation that's being proposed or thought of right now that we might not support when it comes up.
You mentioned earlier the press conference, but recreational sale of marijuana is likely to start in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. How do you feel
So I've heard.
So you've heard. So how do you feel about how the regulatory process has been going since you've been working with regulators?
The Department of Commerce has done an outstanding job with the rulemaking, and I'm proud to be a member of the House, which has slow-rolled any legislation in reaction and really listened to the will of the voters. And I think we've done a really good job of that. I think we're going to see some legislation in the next couple of weeks that will take care of some of the loose ends, maybe the Delta 8, Delta 9 thing, maybe transportation, that type of thing. But we have fought for and have maintained and will maintain the right for home grow without being registered, without being licensed. What you grow in your house was voted on by the people, and I'm proud that the House has stood with us and protected that right.
So it doesn't sound like you back the Senate bill which would require registration for home grow?
I don't back that portion of the bill, but I think we've had discussions, and I'm hoping we can come up with a version of that bill that doesn't include that language. There are some things in there that are important. We do need to address the Delta 8, Delta 9. A 12-year-old should not be able to go and buy something with 37 milligrams of THC. But any adult should be able to purchase it without having to get on a registry to grow in their own basement.
You know, some of the songs that Mojo had or has, those, even the names of them, under some legislation, wouldn't be able to even be seen under legislation. What do you think are the problems with that? And do you think that there's a problem with banning books if they're deemed to be inappropriate?
I'm generally not a fan of banning books, and under some of the legislation, the 1600 Shakespeare plays would be illegal. So yeah, I'm not real excited about some of that legislation. So Mojo's, you know, when Shakespeare's cutting edge First Amendment, we have a problem.
Anything else you'd like to add about?
Well, what I'd like to add is that go visit the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If not tomorrow, some other time. It's one of the great assets we have here in Ohio. This time of year, the lake is beautiful. Going out to celebrate Mojo. They have some First Amendment displays up in other areas as well, along with some civil rights displays and early cowpunk. Wanda Jackson, I think, has something up there, and some of the early folks. So take the time to go up there. I urge our TV media to make sure you play that up so we can make sure that folks go to see what an asset that is and go see the Mojo Nixon exhibit so you get the full feel of what he was about and what rock and roll can do societally. Any other questions?
Taco train.